Hi, everyone. I'm just going to quickly talk a little bit about the land use process, and then hopefully we can get your feedback and your input or your experience with it, and even talk a little bit about perhaps how to improve it. Um, and I was saying before this started, I was talking about how I did a very informal series of a survey with those with folks I came into contact with today throughout New York City, just people at work or friends of mine or I had the security guard downstairs about land use, about the process, about their neighborhood, about changes. Absolutely fascinating how it was all over the map, the responses. And I think we could probably see that in our own lives and in our own neighborhoods. ULURP, the what we're talking about today, the Uniform Land Use Review Process, was established in 1975 by the charter. It was controversial at that time, because land use is controversial. No matter what it is, land use and changes to neighborhoods throughout the city is controversial. So ULURP was started in 1975, and it was intended to give people a seat at the table. In fact, it was set out to do a few different things. The key is to enhance public participation, to have it to systematize it, to make it regular and uniform, the public's involvement in the different ways the public can be involved in land use, in the land use changes and decisions, to make the community have their voice. It was also to make it standardized, to create it a predictable process, a clear process, something that everybody understood, even if it's incredibly complex and hard to understand. At least there's a standard process to understand. And it also tried to increase the transparency, to make the decision-making process more transparent, and also to make those accountable, people to make those in power accountable for those changes and for the decisions they were making. And to be honest, it was at the time, when I was reading articles at the time about the changes, it was seen as a response to the kind of Robert Moses era, the major the large mega changes that completely altered neighborhoods, and to give the public and the advocates, and of course the city, to give them a voice in this process. It's been controversial from the start, of course. Let's go through it real quick if we can. Barb, do you have the graphic that you could throw up there, Susie? There we go. So you could find this in the book, the wonderful book that we're talking about, What Makes New York City Run. As it says there, page 68. And you could see the discussion on, oh yeah, look at that. What a beautiful graphic. And you could see the changes in the discussion about land use and city planning that begins with chapter 5 on page 61, if you have this. But if we could just take a look at this process here, it's the public review under the Uniform Land Use Public Review procedure or process. So the key here is that we now have we have a sort of a pre-application review that's done by the Department of City Planning, which is one of the key actors in this process, to make sure that the proposals that are there are complete, that they're clear, and that they meet the basic standards for the process. And the DCP staff works regularly with the project applicants to do this. The community board is really the first real stop for this. The community board has a 60-day review process to hold public hearings, to, as it says here, right, to hold and make recommendations. This is really the first place where residents hear about it, and where they get where you get community input, and the local local perspective on the impact of the surroundings. And so after that, it then goes to the borough. The borough president has 30 days for review. And then you get that a little wider, that borough perspective, making sure that the project is in line with whatever the broader borough land use strategy is and the priorities. There are also recommendations that come out of this process, modifications to it, changes. They can endorse it, again, much like the community board. Usually they do come along with recommendations, large-scale projects. It goes to the City Planning Commission next for a 60-day review. Again, now you have a public hearing that takes place to make sure now they're looking at the change to the application, make sure whether it's compliant with the broader city-wide land use goals or the planning strategy, and how the project in the neighborhood, in the borough, it would impact the city. CBC also has ability to approve or disapprove or modify the proposal. And of course, you all know the biggest player in this is the city council. Your bosses, your members, you yourself review and hold public hearings. And this is the legislative oversight. This is the people's oversight, making sure that our elected representatives have a voice in the land use. And of course, same thing, council can approve, modify this. And there are often, as you all know, and I would love to hear from you all on about any negotiations that you've been involved in with the mayor's office, with if your member meets with project developers, real estate members on these types of projects. Mayoral review happens, the next step. And the mayor, of course, has authority on this, can approve, veto, return it without action. This is the executive branch oversight, and the last mayoral say in the land use process. The mayor can override, much like, as you know, much like the process of how of legislation. The mayor can veto, and the council can override it with a 2/3 vote. Again, I hope those of you here have some experience with this and would like to talk about it. The most important thing are the key actors in this process, right? As we discussed, the community boards, the borough presidents, city planning commission, department of city planning, city council, and the mayor. There are lots of opportunities for public input because of how this is, what this does to neighborhoods, and how this changes neighborhoods, boroughs, and cities. Before ULURP, when I was reading for this article, it was all over the map on how land use decisions were made. And often it was without public review. And it was without regular, consistent procedures. And what you had was a piecemeal, sort of ad hoc development strategy, or you really didn't have a strategy. There was really no overall plan. And with the rapid change, the incredible rapid growth of development, the changes in transportation and mobilizing, things changed pretty quickly. And the city knew that they needed to have a sort of broader effort that involved everybody, and that gave citizens, that gave residents the chance to have their say, multiple areas, and that involved outside organizations, not only the real estate developers and the government, that it had to involve all the stakeholders, including the community groups and the advocacy groups. Where the power, what the ULURP has power over and what it doesn't, and how those changes can affect the city, and how we could possibly improve it, which I hope, I would love to hear from you all at the end of this, what you think we can do to improve the ULURP process.